And you cannot allow yourself to get into victim mode and have a victim mentality, because where you are in your life and business is a result of the decisions or lack of decisions you've made. In other words, it's all on you. You can't point the finger out, but you got to turn the mirror back around on yourself.
You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
Stop what you're doing and listen to the following quote I'm about to share with you closely and intently. Here we go. Possibilities allow us to have intention. Intentions allow us to see opportunities, and opportunity allows us to finally use the tools we have. Start with your belief system, and that opens or closes the door to possibility, which creates focused intention and allows us to see the opportunity. And now we can use the tools we finally have, which give us extraordinary results, which automatically redefine and upgrade our belief systems. So that quote is a mouthful, and there's so much to dissect and digest. I wrote that quote down because I recently had the privilege of interviewing Greg Pineal on the podcast. And that podcast is actually going to be published and released on this coming Monday. So depending on when you're listening to this, you're listening to episode 517. And I'm actually, this is the May 13th episode. So if you're listening to this before that Monday, I want you to go ahead and tune in, because we're going to publish. This was actually a Facebook Live that I hosted just a couple of days ago. And I wanted to go ahead and repurpose that as a podcast, because it was filled with insight. It was filled with perspective. It was filled with wisdom by a man who has, 4+ decades as a real estate entrepreneur, and somebody who is just very wise, very knowledgeable, and can really profoundly impact your life and your business. And as he likes to say, can throw you off balance and wonderfully disturb you. These are some of the terms that might pique your interest, might kind of, you might be curious as to what are you talking about? Wonderfully disturbed and throw you off balance. Well, a couple things. I want you to go to my Facebook. If we're not already friends, you could just go ahead and shoot me a friend request. And I want you to watch that Facebook Live and actually see the interview, see the interaction. And I want you to tune in for Monday's masterclass with Greg Pineal, because when I had the opportunity to watch him speak live, I probably jotted down over 15 or 16 quotes that this man spewed out. Quotes like, growth happens when you're pushing your own personal limits. Humility attracts, arrogance repels. If you're able, you're obligated. If framed properly, experiences of adversity can become your greatest deliverable asset. Sameness is the enemy, growth is the goal. And the list goes on and on with gem after nugget after gem after nugget that he dropped that landed with me and had an impact on me. So this has been a long time coming. I've been wanting to have him on the podcast, and so had the opportunity, thought I would just go ahead and share the interview live with you guys so that you have the ability to ask questions. So whether or not you had the opportunity to watch that Facebook Live and interact, maybe you had an opportunity to ask a question, either way, I want to go ahead and have you tune in and listen and or watch it again. Again, we're going to be repurposing it on upcoming podcast, because, Greg is one of those guys that when you hear him speak, you have to listen multiple times. And each time you listen, you pick up a new nugget. You pick up something that has you thinking a little bit different, has you questioning your own beliefs. And I started the episode with that quote because that's one of the things he shared when, he kind of has a diagram where he shares this in a circle, and he shares how, and he talks about how when you tune into the podcast, there's probably a pretty good chance that you want to hear X's and O's. You want to hear the latest and greatest marketing strategy or technique or tactic that's going to allow you to close more deals and put more money in your pocket. Grow your bottom line. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, the tools and tactics and the strategies, that's important. But the fault in that approach is that tools come later on in the process. It's possibilities, then it's intention, then it's opportunities, And then after opportunities, after you spot the opportunities, you're able to identify which tool you can use to take advantage of our opportunity. And the irony of all this is that as you see possibilities, which allow you to have intention, and then you see opportunities, and then you're able to use those tools, that essentially leads to the extraordinary results that you're looking for, which automatically redefine and upgrade your belief system. So everything starts with belief systems. And Greg would be the first to kind of unpack that philosophy. And it's something that, again, just one of the many things I heard him speak about that I wanted to share with you and kind of tease you with on the podcast, in hopes that you would tune in and check out the episode on Monday. And you might be listening to this in the future. Go back. This is going to be episode 518 is the one with Greg Pineal. So I definitely want you to check it out. And alternatively, or actually in conjunction to listening to the podcast, I would encourage you to make sure that we're connected on Facebook so you can actually watch the interview live. And I know that it's one of those things you're going to get a lot out of. So having said that, I want to go ahead and transition to a different part. So I've had quite a few people reach out to me on Instagram, on Facebook, because a little bit over a week ago, I added a story, and I shared a story on my Instagram how I was at the airport. And the reason I was at the airport is because just 12, 13, 14 hours prior to that moment where I was at the airport, I was presented with a self-storage facility that appeared to check many boxes for me, based on the size, based on the location or geography, based on the cash flow, based on the potential upside, the ability to expand. There was just so many things about it that were attractive. And I want to kind of take a few steps back and kind of share the story with you of how my trip to Mississippi went. It was my first time doing a site visit and doing a deep due diligence on a self-storage facility. I want to share with you and unpack exactly what went down in that 1 to 2 days that I was in Mississippi, where we stand with the deal now. But before I even get there, I think it's important that I kind of highlight and recap the journey so far. And this isn't, while this story I'm about to share with you, while this journey is my journey and it's unique to me, what I really want you listening for are the parallels in your life and in your business. And take my experience and my journey and see what you can glean from it that applies to your life, that applies to your business, and how you can use that to propel you moving forward. Because, like Greg talked about, if framed properly, experiences of adversity can become your greatest deliverable asset. And the reason I share that I want to kind of springboard off of is because when I finally decided to, you may or may not know, but I ran a wholesaling operation for 15 plus years. And a little bit over a year ago, or about a year ago or so, I finally, made the decision and publicly revealed that I was going to be exiting out of that business for multiple reasons. And the purpose of this podcast is not to recap that, but I basically took, I went on like a 3 to 6 month sabbatical where I was really just focused on the podcast. I was really just focused on Ascend. I was focused on my family, and didn't really do anything else, have some rentals and have some cash flow coming in from some other opportunities, but really wasn't actively chasing deals like I had been accustomed to for 15 plus years. And it was very refreshing. And it gave me the opportunity to sit back and reflect and think about my business, think about my life, think about what I want, where I'm going. And it just gave me a lot of clarity. And it came around November where I finally started to get the itch again. My coach told me, take some time off. Be careful not to dive into the next thing to try to conquer the next mountain, start a new business, because as entrepreneurs, that's kind of our inclination, right? At least that's been mine. And I took his advice, and it was sound because it gave me the opportunity to really kind of see the big picture. And he told me, he goes, you're going to know when the time is right to pursue the next opportunity based on your vision, based on your goals. And November came, and I knew for me, it was a self-storage business. So, like I preach, like I talk about on the podcast, I chose to invest in myself and hire a storage coach and join a mastermind community. And I really spent the first month to 2 months kind of in education mode, more than anything, And granted, I was taking some time off during the holidays, and I was working on some other projects and tying up some loose ends. So all that to say is that while I made an investment in myself, I didn't fully dive in. I didn't take my own medicine, so to speak, as far as what I share with people. I believe, you should do. You make a decision, you burn the ships, you jump into the deep end of the pool. Well, while I did that to a certain degree, I didn't do it the way I normally do it. And quite honestly, the results or lack thereof really showed themselves true. And it was February where, I started to say, like, man, I'm not really seeing any results on the storage side of things. And that was nobody's fault but my own. I always share with people, whether it's, some of our Ascend members, people I'm coaching, people that reach out to me. If you're not satisfied with the results that you're currently getting, look back at your previous activity over the course of the 30, 60, 90 days that preceded that moment, because that will kind of paint the picture for you. And you cannot allow yourself to get into victim mode and have a victim mentality, because where you are in your life and business is a result of the decisions or lack of decisions you've made. In other words, it's all on you. You can't point the finger out, but you got to turn the mirror back around on yourself. And that was a defining moment for me, because, mid to end of February, I think it was end of February, we had just wrapped up one of our Ascend retreats. Somebody asked me, how are things going on the storage side? And I had to be honest with them and honest with myself. And I said, quite honestly, I really haven't gained the traction. The good news is I know exactly why. I haven't done X, Y, Z. I haven't taken this action or that action. I've been more in education mode. And granted, while I was at a time where I was, just tying up some loose ends and wrapping up some other projects, I knew I had to dive into the deep end of the pool. And at that moment, it was somewhat humbling for me, because when I made the decision to get into that business, I kind of just expected success and results would come pretty quickly, based on my mindset, based on my knowledge, based on my experiences, based on my resources. But there's no substitute for doing the work. There's no substitute for taking the action. Nobody's going to do it for you. And that's what I'm really hoping you take out of this podcast. And that's what I honestly had to just, while I know this, I still wasn't in alignment with my belief system. I knew that I had to take the action, but I had to be honest with the fact that I hadn't taken several steps and several things that I had committed to do. So I reached out to my coach and I said, hey, if you're open for this, I would like to touch base with you once a week, just quick 2 to 5 minute accountability call every Monday morning. So we instantly implemented that early March. And I said, I commit to do X, Y, Z. And that level of accountability kind of took my efforts to just new heights, to a new level. And I knew it wasn't if I was going to close my first self-storage facility and grow from there. It was just a matter of when. Well, at that moment, I realized, I haven't written down any specific goals as it came to the storage business. So I took out a little notebook that I had gotten, and I started writing down, I will close on a cash flowing self-storage facility. So I started to get very specific with the amount of cash flow that I was going to generate by the end of May. And it was about a 3-sentence goal, where it was very specific. It checked off, if you've heard of the SMART acronym, the goal has to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant or realistic, and then timely. It's got to have a deadline. It checked off every single one of those things. It was a very specific goal as it relates to storage. And I continued to write that goal. I continued to read it on a daily basis. And, here we are. So rewind a week ago, we're at the beginning of May, and my goal was to close by the end of May on my first self-storage facility. Well, if you know anything about storage of the commercial world, closing in 30 days or less it's certainly not impossible. It can be done, but it's unlikely in most situations. This is not like the single family world. One of the things I've learned is that things move a lot slower in the self-storage world. With single family, there's especially when you're wholesaling, there's a lot of moving parts. Things move quicker. In the self-storage world and in commercial in general, things just take more time. There's due diligence that has to be done. There's a lot of things, I's that have to be dotted, T's that have to be crossed before you can get to the closing table. Now, not in all cases, I'm speaking generally, but usually there could be a 30-day due diligence and a 15 to 45-day close period. Or in some cases, it's a 45-day due diligence and a 45 or a 60-day close. It really just depends. So here I am early May, and I'm like, I definitely know that I'm making progress towards this goal, but I haven't quite yet found that opportunity. I had submitted, 3 or 4 LOIs, which is a letter of intent, in the previous 2-3 weeks, one of which, actually inked a purchase and sale agreement, sent it off, and they ended up going with a higher offer. So that one didn't work out. But I wasn't deterred in any way. If anything, I was just motivated that, hey, I'm seeing progress. And that's really one of the other things I want you to take from this podcast episode is that my good friend Tom Curl always says, progress, not perfection. In fact, perfection is a fallacy. Perfection are the rainbows and unicorns that we seek. And yet, if you are seeking it, you're probably setting yourself up for failure. So I knew I was making progress. I knew I was going down the right path to accomplish my goal. Again, it was when, it wasn't if. And then here I was on, I got a text message and an email early Monday morning. So this is about a week and a half ago, beginning of May. And, somebody who at the moment will remain nameless until the deal is closed, said, hey, I have an opportunity for you. This thing cash flows from day one. Based on what you shared with me, and your criteria, I think this one could be for you. And one of the lessons there that I want you to draw from this is you have to publish with others what it is you want, right? So you first have to have clarity. You have to be very intentional and specific about what you want. And then you have to share that with people. You got to plant seeds, because had I not done that, this person would not have known to come to me. But because I have been doing that, because I hop on our group Zoom calls, because when I pick up the phone and I speak to people, when I communicate by email, I'm planting seeds with people, not just about like, hey, here's what I'm looking for, here's my criteria, but as I've always shared, I'm always seeking to contribute. I'm always seeking to help. I'm always seeking to add value, and I'm asking those questions, and people know that I'm genuine, so they appreciate that. And so this person sent me an email, and I spent the next probably 3 to 5 hours diving deep. And after the first hour, I realized, hey, this thing looks and smells like a deal. And while there's deals out there, at least in my experience so far, it's not like I'm seeing deals left and right coming across my inbox. And, there's very specific criteria I'm looking for. And this checked most of those boxes. So from the moment I got that email, probably fast forward 12 to 15 hours later, I had booked a flight and I was on my way to the airport to go check out this facility. Now, I will say that there were some unique circumstances around my decision to book a flight and get out there. Normally, what you want to do is have the facility have an agreement inked. You want to have a purchase and sale agreement signed before you start spending some money going out there and doing a site tour and due diligence, et cetera, et cetera. There were some unique circumstances around why getting it under contract wasn't a possibility at that moment, based on the seller and the broker situation. So I took a calculated risk. I had a verbal agreement that, hey, if I was going to go out there and I gave them the green light, that, the deal was ours. And while that could have, bit me in the butt, because verbal agreements, don't really mean much. There's no, you can't hold somebody liable to a verbal agreement. Or look, I'm not an attorney. Maybe you can, but I didn't have it in writing. And so I took a calculated risk, and I'm glad I did, because had I not taken that calculated risk, chances are I wouldn't be here today. And while the deal is in the process of being inked, I don't quite have it under contract yet. And allow me to kind of highlight how this trip went, and then I'll kind of fast forward to where we stand today. So I went out there, Mississippi, first time in Mississippi. I've been very fortunate and blessed to do quite a bit of traveling, but I just never been to the state. And, I had started researching a lot about Mississippi, and there was a few things that popped up that I didn't like initially. This particular city was not growing in population, year over year. You look at crime rate in certain areas. So there was a few things that jumped out at me that I wasn't a big fan of. But again, I was going on this trip to essentially try to kill the deal, because I've learned in my years in real estate that if you can't kill a deal, it's a deal. Pass go, collect $200, move forward, right? So I wasn't going there like, hey, I'm anxious to do my first deal. No, I was going there to do my due diligence, to go there with an open mind and to figure out if I could kill this thing. So, started talking to Uber drivers, started letting them people know why I was there. Just started befriending locals and to get a really good understanding of the community, of the market. Started asking people, hey, this facility is located in this area. What do you know about it? And you'd be surprised how much knowledge, intel, and 411, valuable 411 you can gain by talking to locals, people that have been there their entire life. In fact, I connected with several people that had never left that particular city, let alone been outside of Mississippi. So they knew just everything about the market. I mean, they could tell you down to a street what's been going on. And there was so much information I was able to gather that there's no way I could have done that from the comfort of my home office on Google and just picking up the phone and talking to people. So I knew I had made the right decision by, spending $1,000, $1,500 to get out there, flight, hotel, renting a car, food, the whole nine, right? And so I got out there and, I actually got to my hotel like at 1 a.m. and I had a meeting to meet with the broker, the property manager, and a roofer at 9 a.m. So, got out there early. I drove around the area, got a feel for the neighborhood, and I met with the broker. We kind of walked around the property, asked him a bunch of questions. But before I even asked him questions about the facility, I honestly spent like the first probably 10, 15, 20 minutes just talking about him and talking about his business at the brokerage, talking about how his journey in the self-storage world, and just kind of getting to know him better. Because building rapport and influence with people is really the foundation of any relationship. You have to connect with people. You have to have empathy. You have to show them you genuinely care. And that's what I was doing, and I'm fortunate that, while I still have a lot to learn in that department, I feel like that comes relatively natural to me, right? Because just for the most part, I like people. I like connecting with people. And so that's what I did, and then from there, things just kind of opened up. We got to talking about the specifics of the facility. This is a fairly large facility by most standards. So we were walking around and just connecting with the person, getting a better feel for the area, getting a better feel for the facility. What are the pros? What are the cons? I already had all the financials. I already had all the numbers. I was verifying a lot of that information. So after about an hour and a half, 2 hours with the broker, I spent another hour with the property manager asking her specific questions. One of the things I asked her was, what's most challenging or difficult in your experience having managed this facility for the previous 3 years? Like, what would you say is the most challenging aspect of it? And what I was really hoping to get from her, which I got, was, hey, give me the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Like tell me what I'm getting into here that I might not know on the surface. Like, I wanted to dig as deep as possible. So she started to open up to me and share with me the good, the bad, and the ugly, which was awesome because it gave me a full picture. I was looking to put the pieces of the puzzle together so I could see the puzzle and then determine, hey, this puzzle's for me, or no, I'm going to pass on this thing. So spent some time with her. I ended up taking a bunch of videos and pictures of this facility. It's looking like this is going to be a deal for me. We're in the process now. We're in negotiations with, actually, we're not even in negotiations. We have agreed on a price. Now we're ironing out some of the details in the paperwork and, having my attorney review it before we ink it and officially go into contract. But, outside of that, went to the planning and zoning department, went to the mapping department. I wanted to confirm the zoning. I wanted to confirm that we could build additional storage because there's room for expansion. So I got to befriend some of the people at the county and the city, and those could be relationships that prove to be very valuable in the future, if and when we do end up owning this facility. And so, I hopped on a FaceTime with my money partner, showed him the facility, answered questions. I have some backup money partners in place. And so, if you're listening to this, there's opportunities where if it's the right fit, you can be involved either on the debt or equity side. Just shoot me an email, alex@flipempire.com. And we can always, discuss the potential of working together on future facilities. But I'm fortunate that have all the resources, have the relationships, have the funding in place to take down the right opportunities. And yeah, one of the other things I did was I started outside of driving the competitors, so I pulled up self-storage in this particular city and I drove most of the competitors. I stopped in when there was an office, asked questions, looked around. I wanted to get a better sense for the supply and demand in the area, although I had already done that research. What was really interesting was going to the local businesses in the area, right? Like, so within a 1 mile area, I probably stopped at 7, 8, 9 businesses. And I spoke to the, to the owner of those businesses to get a sense for, hey, what do you know about this facility? What do you know about the area? What's been happening here? What's been happening there? And so much insight that I was able to gather and collect physically being there that I probably would not have been able to gain had I was just, behind a computer screen or picking up the phone. So anyway, just wanted to open up and kind of share parts of my journey with you. That's one of the things that when I decided to commit to this business, I was going to kind of share with you. And I want to do more of that because I've been getting asked, hey, where are you with this and where are you with that? And I'm extremely grateful for that because it has it's provided a level of accountability, whether you know it or not. So anyway, just wanted to kind of share with you where we're at. Again, I'm hoping end of this week. In fact, I'm expecting that we'll have pen to paper on this, and then we'll be entering the due diligence period and getting the financing in place and all that kind of thing. So I will continue. We're probably in chapter 2 here. And I will continue to share with you just how things develop and unfold. And this is just one facility. One thing that I want to kind of leave you with is when you start to gain momentum and you're making progress, don't stop there. That's a sign that you need to push your foot on the gas and continue to go faster, because I published an episode about this not too long ago. Momentum breeds momentum. What some people's inclination is to do is when they finally start to gain some progress, momentum, and see some success, they slow down, right? And that just stops momentum. Think about a train. It takes X amount of seconds or minutes for a train to get going, and it's super slow. But when that train or when that locomotive is full speed, try stopping that thing. It takes so much longer to stop it than it does to get it going. So once you start to build momentum, push your foot on the gas and continue to go faster. So this is just one of several opportunities I'm looking for. Again, if you have any interest in connecting with me about potential synergies, or if there's anything I can do for you, just reach out to me, alex@flipempire.com. And I really look forward to connecting with you. I look forward to having you plug into future episodes, including the one with Greg Pineal coming up this Monday. And I just appreciate you for listening to this. Hopefully you're subscribed to the show so that you are notified every Monday and Thursday morning when shows come out. And yeah, I just appreciate your time and look forward to connecting with you when we do. Take care. One last thing before you go. If you have been listening to the show for a while and or you have been getting value from the show, I would be 100% honored if you would share this show with a friend, or maybe share it with somebody that you think could benefit from this. It's my mission, it's my cause, it's my purpose through Flip Empire to impact and touch people's lives, to help people and in their businesses. So it would be an honor if you would be willing to share this episode. And one last thing, make sure that you're subscribed so that you get notified every Monday and Thursday when shows get released. I look forward to connecting with you on the next one. Until then, have a great day.